Darrell clocks up.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I didn't mean to, I
No,
didn't think it
you're all
would
right.
jump in
I
so
didn't realize
quick.
you recorded.
God, I'm taking off my puffy coat. That does not do, that's the camera, this owl does not.
This camera's terrible. Okay, let's call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. on February 19th, 2025. I'll throw up the agenda on the screen. Call meeting to order, changes to December 2024 minutes, and then we need to approve them. Public comment, discussion, new Shoreland Subcommittee mission statement, and motion to approve. The select board would like that by the March meeting.
The new mission statement.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll give a project report and then we need to fill an open seat.
Does anybody have any ideas? Well, we'll talk to that
Yeah,
about that when we get there.
We'll
try to
think
figure that
about
out.
filling our open seat here in just a little bit, and then we can adjourn. Any changes?
Nope.
Nope,
All right,
sounds
great.
good.
Minutes. I probably sent them out in January.
Yeah, it's been a while. I remember reading them.
They
at the
weren't
time.
very
Yeah,
extensive.
they were fine. I will make the motion to approve them.
Second,
I have to stand down. I wasn't here.
I can.
Yeah, of course you can.
I can.
We have a quorum.
Yeah, we have a quorum. I can second.
Yeah.
And all in favor?
I,
You and I, and we are good to go. You like how we get things done around here?
Trust me, I'm in retail. I get this.
All right, so. Let's go back to our agenda. Are there any public comments? I mean,
There's not a lot of public people here, right? You guys are all, no, I just, again, I enjoy getting to know, what's going on and learning,
Great.
so thanks for having me.
new Shoreland Subcommittee mission statement. So I'll throw up the draft that I threw out. And then basically what I'd like to do tonight is if we can wordsmith it, change it, add, be done with it, vote on it.
Yep.
And send it to the select board, that would be ideal. So the mission of the Town of North Hero Shoreland Subcommittee is to investigate measures that enhance protection of the shoreland and lake. It will make recommendations to the Planning Commission, Select Board, town departments, or state for implementation. The subcommittee will foster an open forum and will seek input from the community before making recommendations. We did have 3 pillars. I did remove one of the pillars. Supporting pillars to the mission statement include public education. I didn't really change this. Establish and maintain an education program with DEC and watershed groups to teach the public on best management practices as well as state, federal, and town laws critical to shoreline protection. So there's a little bit of
yeah, I mean,
permitting and so on and so forth.
kind of took our original one and refined it a bit and more focused on what we're really doing. I thought it was, well done,
Yeah,
Tom.
I like it.
Yeah,
I don't think it needs a whole lot of
no,
doctoring.
Do you want to add anything?
Pretty sure you got all of it.
yeah,
Oh, you printed it out.
I did.
Oh, cool.
I got some help for
So we'll give you a minute to look at them, and
Yeah.
if there's something that you would like added, changed, we can.
Tom, I'm wondering if we still need pillars.
Oh,
Well, I added, we can't see you. It's
we hear the
interesting.
voice.
David's like a ghost.
Disturbing.
Hi, David.
We
Hey,
cannot see you.
Well, maybe it's just as well.
How about video?
Oh, that cuts ours off.
No.
I don't know. David, do you have your video turned on?
Can you see us?
yeah, I can see you guys.
Okay. Interesting.
I wondered, is there a gallery view?
David, do you have your video on?
No, my video's off.
Oh, try that. See what happens. I bet you'll show up. There he is.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, the big screen.
There he is.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm not doing the big screen. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Well, we miss you either way.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so David, you had a comment.
Well, I just thought for the sake of simplification, do we still need pillars? We had pillars before because, it had a broader, the goal was a broader remit than it is now.
Yeah, well, I like the idea that we're still focused on public education. I think
Right.
that should be
If
part
we
of
were
it.
to pull the pillars out, we would probably have to add that into the body.
Yeah,
I think that's my suggestion, yeah.
yeah, okay, I'm fine with that.
Can I hear the pillars again?
Sure. Public education. Establish and maintain an education program with DEC and watershed groups to teach the public on best management practices as well as state, federal, and town laws critical to shoreline protection. So is the recommendation we put the pillars into the mission in as part of the statement? Because the engineer in me says I like them split out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine either way. I think they both belong.
Yeah.
Whether we incorporate that into one text or leave them as pillars is.
It's just that if someone picks up the mission without the pillars, there's no mention of education in it.
Right.
Yeah. Although how would that happen? It's all one
Yeah,
document.
it technically is all.
I
I mean,
don't
like-
feel strongly about it. It was just a suggestion. If people don't want to do that, that's fine. We can move on.
Yeah, because the only thing I would change is if I moved the public education up in the projects and then just put bullet points on there. That's
Yeah.
about all I would change.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it the way it is. I would make the motion to approve
Can I
the,
ask a question?
Oh, we have a question.
Oh.
Go
I
ahead.
just have a question, just specifically about the word investigate, and again, it's semantics really, but. Are you looking to investigate or explore measures? Cause investigate sounds like, a little bit more compliance
Yeah,
related, so I
yeah,
don't know,
yeah.
I just.
No, that's a good one.
That is a good
Question.
point, yeah.
That was the only word that I was like, ooh, cause I love them, I mean, I don't know who wrote it, but I love it. That
I
was the
think,
only
I
word
think
that-
Andy.
Original,
we all
well,
did.
the very first draft, but it's been
I think we
tweaked a
all
number of
did.
times since then.
So there is a suggestion to change this, and I get that.
Yeah, I do too.
For a very specific reason, because there continue to be, shoreline complaints out there,
Mhm,
and they're all focused on one person who hasn't done anything,
right,
but the person who's kind of doing this is the one that they're saying is doing it. So I investigate kind of softens it and moves it to explore. Yeah. Any other wordsmithing additions? Because we can change it again.
yeah,
In fact, we can
Yeah.
change it anytime. but-
sure,
And then go to the select board and say, hey,
It was well done.
yeah.
So,
okay. This is a little
I just
too
like
easy.
that it's all included. To me, it's like, I don't really care if it's at the top of the mission statement or if we have pillars at the bottom, just as long as it's able to be all encompassing.
Yep.
So that's kind of my take.
Yeah.
It's got all the content that I would like to see.
If we get down to one pillar, then I guess I would agree that you incorporate that in because you follow the outline rules
Well, I've made the motion to approve it as. it's-
with explore.
With the, yeah, explore
With
instead
the
of
explore.
I'll
investigate.
second.
Any further discussion?
I approve.
All in favor?
Aye,
Any against? All right. The new mission statement is approved. And I will send that to Corinne for inclusion in the next select board meeting.
It'll probably be the one. Let's see. No, it'll be the next one.
Yeah, I can't
I
remember
was
which
thinking
one
we
it
had
is.
found it in some kind.
And then there is, I did already send in the request. I don't think it was presented yet at the select board. I did send in the request. That we continue the committee. And again, this will kind of update that, because in that request, I said, we are working on a new mission statement, and we have that, we'll present it to the select board.
perfect.
So that'll work out fine.
Yeah.
All right. Projects. I actually have some decent news to report on projects.
First of all, have you still got all your government funding?
No, actually, this is an interesting, it's an interesting informational discussion. So state of Vermont funds are secure.
Yep.
At least that's what I've been told to date. So anything from the state, because the funding we're talking about comes from one of the taxes, I just can't remember, it might be
Okay.
the gas tax, it's one of the taxes.
Okay. So that should be
And
secure.
so in general, it's pretty secure. Funding from a couple years ago was attached to the
Is it ARPA?
ARPA.
Yeah.
ARPA funds, but those were depleted.
Yeah.
And so we're good there. The Lake Champlain Basin Program is definitely, what are we doing? Because Lake Champlain Basin Program is attached to funding from Lacey and the Environmental Protection Agency. I'm talking like I know what I'm saying here. This is to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah.
And those funds are definitely, I don't know if at risk is right, but they're definitely on, let's put it this way, they're on hold. So they're on hold until they work through what's going on and so on and so forth. So those funds have been put on hold. From my perspective, sitting on the Friends of Northern Lake Champlain, about half of their funding, maybe a little bit more, is at risk right now. But again, the state of Vermont is so far I've been told everything's good.
Good.
The Friends did put in a proposal for LWAP, Lake Watershed Action Plan. To the state of Vermont. And basically what its primary focus is to look at Cary Bay. So Cary Bay's been identified as a bay of concern right now, and there are 8 in the state of Vermont. Because of all of the lake-wise. Did you have a lake-wise?
I have not had that.
But you're
yet,
thinking
no.
about doing.
I am.
So I had a lake-wise. I don't know if anybody, David had a lake-wise. Because of that, plus we had probably a dozen in North Hero. It kind of elevated that bay from the state of Vermont's view to look at it. So I think the proposal was ours to lose, but we haven't heard yet on whether it's been approved or not.
And it's a proposal to do what, Tom?
So basically look at Cary Bay and see if there are opportunities to reduce phosphorus.
So it's a project assessment?
Project assessment, yeah, so the basic thing, they're gonna hire Fitzgerald Environmental Engineering, at least they were part of the proposal. And they're a pretty good firm in terms of looking at different opportunities to reduce phosphorus. I'll talk about them in a minute. So they would look at things like shoreland erosion, they would look at maybe even things like failing seawalls. I've kind of put them onto the Pilots Park, because there's a shoreline trail there, which is eroding.
Yeah.
And they'll look at that and say, hey, we can do some things here in terms of erosion. I've kind of given them a snapshot of like 3 properties down from me. David Berenberg is one, plus about 2 or 3 houses south and 3 or 4 houses north that are on cliffs that are erosion. They just had a big chunk.
Yeah.
Just fall away.
Really? Yeah.
And so I think if we gather several private properties together, that there's a potential for funding there.
I wish I had pictures of Graveyard Point from when I was a kid. Totally different.
Really?
Yeah, there's been so much erosion on there.
There is possibly something about maybe just as simple as cleaning out the culvert between the Broad Lake and the Cary Bay and Inland Sea, just to get that flow going.
Is that plugged now or partially plugged?
Yeah, partially.
Is it? Okay.
I know it was replaced.
Yeah,
and so
not
it's
that long ago.
been partially.
Yeah.
And then this one will come up and I mean, I think it'll have some very positive and very negative from the town is that whole causeway. In terms of, what are options to do something with the
Love
causeway?
to see it.
Which causeway?
Between Alberg and, is it Alberg?
You're talking about the railroad
Oh.
trestle?
Isle Lamont.
No,
No, it's
it's Albert.
Alberg. Yeah, the Alberg tongue and
To Pilots Point.
Pilots Point, yeah.
Because if you look at maps,
Yeah.
if you look at maps, everything from Missisquoi comes down and just sits there. And it was pretty interesting. I was sailing through that cut at a pretty good clip, like 5 knots or so. And when I got to that thing, my sailboat literally stopped.
Yeah,
I was
no, it's a
still
pretty good
sailing.
flow through there, yeah. Yeah.
But part of the issue is gonna be, the only way to really make causeways work is you need to do something then with the gut, you need to do something with the far one, the southern one where you come onto the islands, because if you change one, then it's gonna impact the other, and it's.
Well, then you also got the one, Missisquoi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's not an easy event, but it would be an Army Corps of Engineers. And their basic statement is, when you stop the flow of phosphorus into the lake, we'll take care of the lake. They'll
Okay.
dredge, they'll do causeways, they'll do whatever, but we gotta stop what's going in right now. So it'll be interesting. I think the big challenge with the Lake Watershed Action Plan is going to be a lot of private properties and a private development. And how do you address that? Like you go up to somebody and say, hey, your seawall's failing.
Yeah,
And
well, I mean. If we approach it from a standpoint of possibly helping them to repair it.
Right.
It might go over a lot better. If
yeah,
it's-
and there are funds to do that.
Cause I know, like anything, you buy a house. You've had it for a while, you have repairs, you don't always have all the cash out of pocket to put up a new seawall.
Yeah.
Or want to, because it's an inanimate object that's just there, so.
It's just there. Well, and DEC now is their preference is to remove seawalls and then do natural shoreline
Mhm.
erosion control.
Yeah.
So for what it's worth, I did get I am certified in natural shoreline erosion control, whatever that means. I sat through a
Good.
course.
Congratulations.
I'm certified, I'm a professional, all that kind of good stuff. Actually, it was a great course to go through. You learned a ton about shoreline protection and how they do things. I found interesting things like natural stone do not count towards impervious surface. Andy, I asked explicitly the question, I said, when does a boulder and a rock get big enough that it's now an impervious surface? If it's a natural occurring event,
Yeah.
then it isn't. And so then,
That makes sense. There's a lot of exposed shale bedrock along
Yeah.
the shoreline, so, yeah.
so a lot of interesting things like that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
different things some really interesting projects along the shoreline, which leads me now to our key project. The good news is the state moved from having to go out and get 3 bids for consultants under $25,000, I think. To a single, so the select board did approve, you were there, okay? The select board approved hiring Fitzgerald Environmental to come and look at the 200 feet on Pilots Point Road.
And there's a grant that pays for that?
Yeah, the town received $10,000 from the clean water service
Yeah.
provider. Fitzgerald was 3478, I think, was
Yeah.
the number. Cool. And so I need to figure out the mechanics of working with Lisa
Yeah.
on how we issue a contract to them, pay them.
Yeah.
If I just shake their hand and they come out and then we hand them a check.
No, won't quite that easy.
I'm sure Lisa's. all
Yeah,
so.
she'll. I just figured out in no time.
So then hopefully when the snow melts, they'll come out, they'll evaluate that. They'll tell us what the phosphorus reduction level is. And based on that phosphorus reduction level, roughly $20,000 per kilogram.
Will they come out at high water or normal?
I'd like to get them out on high water because I think that's when they're gonna see the most.
Okay.
I think we're
That
gonna have
was
some,
My next question was, would we see more phosphorus at high water or a lower level?
Oh, definitely high water.
yeah,
And so then, what's because when the big northerlies come
You're
and
gonna
hit
definitely see
that,
more erosion.
that's when you're gonna see the
I
erosion.
think we're gonna have a pretty high level this spring too, with all the snowpack, it's gonna melt.
So actually, that's the first step in meeting our agreement with the clean water service provider. The hope is, it's a decent phosphorus. I'm estimating 4 to, it could be as high as 10. And so multiply that by 20,000, that would be the funds we have available. Carl seems to be of the opinion, any money we get is gonna be great, because we have to do something at some point in
Yep.
time.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, if there is cost sharing by the town, that would be great. The landowner has expressed interest. Owns a construction company. So he's like, I can dig and all that kind of
Yep,
stuff.
great.
So right now, I'm not concerned that, you know, we're not gonna have enough money, but so far it looks pretty good.
Great,
And there's plenty of money to spend. There is plenty of money to spend right
Good.
now.
Fantastic.
yeah,
The clean water service provider, we're pretty much booked. The funds from 2 years ago are pretty well booked, $500,000. And now they've gotten 2 additional years of funding, so roughly there's another $1 million.
well,
Let's spend it.
yeah, all in North Hero.
Absolutely. I mean, and so maybe at another meeting, we'll have the discussion of, you know, what can we do as a committee to get to identify projects. We could have somebody come in and do some training on, you know, if you see a gully washed out, if you see this washed out, if you see this, you know.
That would be great.
Yeah,
Cause I'm sure we see things every day and just take it for
Yeah.
granted, not knowing what's bad or what's good.
Okay, no, I can do that, and somebody can come in and basically go over things we should be looking for,
Mhm.
to identify projects.
great.
So is that an education opportunity?
Yeah, and we could do it to the public. I mean,
Right.
we could do it
For
for the public and say,
sure.
hey, if you see this, boom.
And
Hey, if
so-
you-
Who would do that?
DEC. There's a chance they would hire engineering firm to do it, but I think they have all the capabilities to do it.
And so who at DEC would that be? Would that be Nisha or somebody else?
No, I know her name. Allison Marchione. She did the report that I sent out on PLOTs. So DEC, I'll tell you what, has a lot of resources. They're a little hard to navigate and find them, but when you find them, they have some really smart people there. And Allison came out and did a report and things to look for and so on and so forth. So it might be her, it might be some other people within her staff. It could be like Misha because he's seen a lot. But it would all be coordinated through Allison, so I can do that.
Yeah.
Boy, it'd be neat to do it before the melt. Right, because that's when you see a lot of stuff, but that's,
Yeah, but everything's covered with snow right now and ice, so.
Yeah.
no, it'd be nice to educate people.
Oh, I see.
before the
Oh,
melt.
Right.
okay.
Then we
Before
can
the
see
melt, so
results.
now when
Yeah.
the melting is occurring, people will.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
let
But
me
you'd have to do it in the next month then.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Let me see what DEC might be able to do.
well, high water usually doesn't hit until around the 1st of
And we
May.
don't usually lose all of our ice until mid to, third week of April usually.
So if we could target mid-April,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you've seen Northwest Regional Planning and Front Porch Forum
Mhm.
has posted like, hey, all these projects, and I mean, it's good and bad. Bring us your projects,
Mhm.
but nobody really knows what a project looks like.
Yeah.
Right.
So I will work on that. So I'll talk to Allison. I'll see if we can get somebody out here in April to do some training.
great.
Definitely of the Shoreland Subcommittee
Mhm.
and preferably with the public to
Mhm.
say, look for this when the water's coming up and
Yeah.
pump, and we can bring some projects.
Yeah.
Great idea. Does anybody want any more information on projects, clean water service provider, Basin Water Quality Council?
No, I'll just say I really appreciate the effort you're putting in, Tom.
Absolutely.
It's great.
It's no less than what you're doing, Andy. I'll
What
tell you
about-
that.
What about the Lakeview Drive project on Route 2 down there?
Okay,
We
so.
had any updates on that?
So that is currently in the hands of Northwest Regional Planning. We kind of did a divvy up
Mhm.
and they said, Tom, why don't you handle this? They're handling that. I should do a check.
Tom,
Because
is that the library or is that different?
no, that's the, as you're going.
Yeah,
right
Lakeview
before
Drive,
Lakeview Drive.
shortly after Route 2.
They were moving that,
Erosion.
they were moving that to a hazard. And so they were gonna call Brandy.
Mhm.
Yeah, they were gonna, cause they were gonna contact her, which obviously they haven't done yet. Just to kind of possibly turn it into a hazard mitigation, and there were or are funds available to do hazard
Oh,
mitigation.
nice. I'll ask
Great.
her tonight.
Yeah.
We pass each other a lot.
I actually find that hard to believe.
But I'm sure there are others.
Mhm.
The library got complicated because there's a farm behind it,
Mhm.
and so there are agricultural funds that want to claim the phosphorus credits. Then there's V-Trans, because it's right on the V-Trans and the culverts in that are V-Trans, so they want to claim the credits. The problem with other people claiming the credits is then there's not enough money, phosphorus credits to build a big enough project. It's not done, it's just complicated. Whereas this, I've already done the whole survey. It's not MRGP, which is great. Actually, no, it meets MRGP. So we don't have to worry about state funds trying to come in and take credits for it. It's town right of way with potentially private property. There's no V-Trans, no ag, no wetlands,
Right.
no, it's a pretty clean
Yeah.
project.
Right.
Good.
Speaking of wetlands, not to get too far off topic, but have you reviewed what they're doing down at the state park
A little bit.
with opening it up? Is that gonna help or is that gonna hinder phosphorus levels? Is it kind of opening it up so the swamps will continue and go back out into the lake?
A wetland connection is a good thing.
Is it?
I mean, I'll-
It's like a big filter probably.
Yeah, wetland is a good filter.
I don't wanna talk too much beyond that, because I don't know, but I have heard that wetland reconnection is a good thing.
Good.
And wetland reconnection to the lake is a good thing. The other part of that project that is good is they're removing a pretty significant amount of impervious surface. Which is good and bad, because there's some history, like some really interesting history in that park. It mimics the national parks, when all the national parks were being built. So a lot of those buildings are exactly what was built for the national park, so there's some really interesting history there. It just takes me back to when I was a kid. So they are removing some impervious surface, obviously, cutting the road in half is the biggest impervious surface removal, so they're cutting the road in half and they're gonna have the other half as crushed stone,
Mhm.
which should be
Permeable.
permeable,
Yeah.
pervious. Overall, I think it's a pretty decent project. I did ask the question, how much phosphorus are you removing? And they were like, oh. And so further on, there's potential if we want as a committee, I think it'd be a great. We could probably get money to do signage and like. Hey, here's why wetlands are important and all
Right.
that kind of stuff,
It's not a bad idea.
but we can address that in. Any other
Project, great recap, thanks.
Do we want to talk about education schedule? I mean, it's already February, right? If we want to get stuff in the first half of the year, we're gonna have to schedule it now.
Yeah. Well, so, sure, we have April as a project identification training. And then, yeah, then let's move into June, July. I think June, July had pretty good turnout.
Yeah.
What are people thinking in terms of what should we do again? Do you want to do another Misha event?
I would like to, and I was thinking,
Yeah, I would.
Maybe mid-May or mid-June, early, so people who are thinking about construction have a point of.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like getting Misha back. He's very knowledgeable.
It's a great idea,
Presents
David,
himself well.
'cause
Yep.
usually when people come out of hibernation from the winter, that's when the projects start, so.
Right?
Are the summer people back by then? And do they participate? Or
Generally in May, I think.
Yeah.
is that when they usually?
There is a chance Misha's gonna be really busy then with permitting, but let me see.
Yeah,
okay.
It's easy to ask.
Yeah.
So that's fine. So April, we'll do project identification.
Mhm.
May, we'll do permitting. Do you think there's a focus, David, or should he just redo what he
No, I
already?
think you should just do the same thing you did last time, introduction.
Okay. So those are two good ones, and then,
I think we should do another Lakeshore event.
so like, hey, this is Lake-wise. I think I'm gonna wanna reformat that last one. Maybe a little bit more towards Lake-wise,
Mhm.
and here's how you do a Lake-wise assessment and so on and so forth. Are there any other big topics? So those are all great. Project identification, permit review, and Lake-wise, what can I do to my property? I mean, I could maybe focus it on like rain gardens and that kind of stuff.
Or just getting people to apply for Lakewise. Last
Yeah.
year we went up from 4 assessments in 2023 to 21 assessments in 2024.
That's excellent.
That's big. Yeah,
Okay, perfect. So we'll do another Lake-wise event, Shoreland social. We'll do another
Yeah.
Shoreland social.
Yeah.
So that would be in June or July?
So right now we're April, May, and June might not be a bad idea. Because, you know, if people are thinking about doing something, it still gives them time to
Mhm.
implement some things.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like mid-April, mid-May, mid-June.
Yeah, okay, so we'll do a April, May, June.
I like it. Yeah. And that'll catch people before they start doing summer vacations too,
Perfect.
for the most part.
Any other discussion on that? And now. So project report, we have an open seat to fill.
Okay.
Are there any, does anybody have people that you might know of that you'd like to nominate?
I would like to nominate.
I don't know what it is, but.
Well, let me, do we have to advertise it? I know that, was that part of the, when the town set
Yeah.
out, all the openings, was the Shoreland subcommittee?
We should check into it, but I think if you have a volunteer already lined up,
Okay,
I don't think you have to advertise because you're just looking for a volunteer.
yeah, so,
If we have
so,
more than one seat, then obviously we'd wanna, well, you know, cause it's just like when
Yeah.
when I was on the DRB, whoever came, we're like, okay, if you're interested, yep. And we like, you know, you kind of get a feel for the person.
okay, then I guess the way it works, is this subcommittee would make a recommendation to the select board that we'd like to fill this vacancy with whoever. So if you're interested, Missy, I think what you should probably do, just kind of send a letter of interest to Corinne, say,
Okay,
and then,
Would you be interested in? filling
am.
this?
I am. I
Okay.
mean, I want to learn. I want to keep coming to the meetings. so
great.
if-
I
I was
would
gonna
be
say, you're
very
coming
nice.
to the meetings anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, but I'm invited or not, I come, so I don't know if that's a good thing.
So, I would make the, motion that the Shoreland Subcommittee, recommend Missy to the select board to fill our vacant seat.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. So, yeah, again, just,
Yeah,
send an
there's-
email or whatever to Corinne and,
Yay, Missy.
Yeah, because if you weren't here, I was gonna be like, does anybody know how to get a hold of Missy?
We texted till like way late at night. I'm cell phone. I will send that to Corinne, and if there's anything that needs to, if you just let me know if there's anything else that needs to be reviewed, if there's bylaws or anything like that from the committee that I should be aware of before I jump 2 feet into knowing what I'm
no,
getting
it
into.
just,
That's always a good thing.
really just, yeah, a little bit on your background and your interest, the fact that you've been attending these meetings, that's a big plus, so, yeah.
And then,
It doesn't have to be extensive.
Okay.
and then when I send them meeting minutes, and I'll mention that to Corinne.
Okay.
And so she'll tell us the best, if there are any changes.
No, that should be plenty.
I will offer this if anybody's interested. If anybody's interested in taking on the chair, I'm not saying I don't want to do it or anything like that, but if anybody has a interest in chairing the Shoreland Subcommittee, I'm open to that.
Your shoes are too big to fill as far as I'm concerned, Tom.
I'm already vice chair of the select board.
David?
I'm on other committees too, so.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. That was really very gracious of you.
Well, I didn't hear that.
I'm a no, thank you.
Okay. And the opportunity exists, so when you're formal and all that kind of thing, you're like, hey, I'd really like to chair this for whatever reason.
No, I'm good.
Okay,
Don't mean to I fully intend to participate at whatever level is expected,
I mean-
but I'm still learning about the community, so
Give me another month, to think about it.
I will say this.
I just know that right now my schedule is really hectic, so to try to be the chair, you know, it would be hard.
The hardest thing about being chair is getting the announcements.
But I know, I was chair of the planning commission for a while. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
But I will say this, however it occurred, and I want to say maybe it was strategic or maybe it was just luck. But being chair of the Basin Water Quality Council, being chair of Friends of Northern Lake Champlain, so they're the funding agency, Friends is an implementation group, and then the town.
Mhm.
It really gives you a pretty neat perspective of what's going on. It gives you a little more information on what's going on at the state. I can almost say this unequivocally. If you don't have town participation, these projects just don't go.
Mhm.
You need people like Carl, who knows everybody. And if it's a private property project or something, he can go to them and do what Carl does, and, you know, the towns are absolutely critical. And there's plenty of money, so let's
And
go
we
get
have a
it.
great one.
Okay, this was a pretty easy meeting.
Mhm.
6:37. Any other topics people would like to discuss?
I'll just mention one thing, from the, planning commission, this subcommittee made some recommendations to update the regulations. DRB made some recommendations. Both the DRB and this subcommittee recommended that we do the lake setback, go back to the 75 feet or even change it to 100 feet. Planning commission decided to leave it as is, that it should be compliant with the, Shoreland Protection Act. The thought being, if it's good enough for the state, it's good enough for the town. That was the thought process, so.
So then this will go through the whole hearing.
It's still, yeah, we gotta go through public hearings, that goes to the select board and more public hearings, but that's where the planning commission is on it right now. I think all of the other recommendations have been accepted.
Accepted by
The planning
the planning
commission,
commission. Okay, good. No, so there's still an opportunity.
Oh,
to say,
absolutely.
here's why we want. a
exactly,
75 or
yeah,
100%.
we're getting close to consolidating everything and getting ready for our public hearing, probably still a couple months away.
Okay.
So, yeah, there'll be plenty of opportunity for public input.
So Andy, from the DRB, do we still have an opportunity to kick over a couple more recommendations? Is there a time deadline?
Well, you already sent a couple that I forwarded. In fact, Mike Curtis and I met the other day, talked about your.
Yeah, we'll have a
This
couple
is-
more
well,
depending on what your timeline is.
Yeah, we're trying to get everything, wrapped up and finalize, like the next meeting, we would like to try to finalize all of the things we're gonna address. You know, then it's a matter of, you know, putting it all in a nice document and getting it ready to go. So, you had mentioned PUDs and, driveways. We will be
Yeah.
talking about those at the,
We have some recommendations to clarify major and minor subdivisions as well.
yeah. Then I would, if that's the case, you should probably get them to us, sooner rather than later.
When's your next meeting? That's the 12th?
Next week.
Oh,
It's the fourth Tuesday of every month.
yeah, we won't get it to you by then.
No, but if you had it for the following meeting, you know, like I said, we're still probably a couple of months away from
Yeah, we could definitely work it out for the next meeting if that's still appropriate.
Okay, that's fine. I'll have Mike put it on the agenda, to at least mention that you folks are looking at that, and we'll make additional recommendations. Okay, kind of off the track of this subcommittee. but-
No, it's.
Yeah, sorry, Tom.
Great update.
So David, I have a question for you. Did my name come up at the DRB in the last meeting?
I don't think so. I don't remember why.
Because I did offer this to Danielle. Just being certified in shoreland, erosion, natural shoreland erosion control. I did learn a lot. I mean, I'll give it that. And I did offer to Danielle that if there are shoreland, whatever you call them, shoreland events that come up on the DRB, I would be happy to sit either as a member of the DRB or as kind of a quasi consultant for the DRB on those. And I did and so she just said she was going to bring that up in the next meeting. And it just
Yeah,
sounds.
she didn't. What would
Okay.
be an example? We don't have any bylaws on shoreland. What would be an example?
All dictated by the state.
Yeah,
No, as an example, anything in the special flood hazard area is all shoreland related.
Yep.
Anything, seawalls. I mean, they're, and maybe that was her determination, but there are several things that still can impact shoreland, where the best example I can give you, and I can't remember which one it was, an engineer comes in and says, hey, I'm an engineer, I'm certified, we're gonna do a seawall.
Yeah.
And
I guess
The
off the top of my
DRBC.
head, the problem is that we don't have any regulations on seawalls.
No.
So seawalls don't come under the jurisdiction of the DRB.
I don't ever remember hearing a case where we adjudicated on a seawall.
Yeah.
or-
well, no, so this is good because virtually seawall would fall under special flood hazard. Maybe Brandy should be there, because you can't do any fill without DRB approval in
on the flood hazard.
hazard.
Yeah,
And if a seawall's got to be in the flood hazard, it's like
Yeah,
almost by definition, it has to be.
that's interesting.
So, I mean, that's a good point. Maybe that was maybe there was a discussion and maybe that was the conclusion, David. But, we still have things loosely in the regulations about native plants and so on and
Yeah.
so forth. But I was really more interested in if something comes up on special flood hazard and there's an opportunity to do natural shoreline erosion control versus fill and seawalls. But in truth, every seawall should go through the DRB. And I know it doesn't.
No.
but it
That's
should also go through the state, right?
And it should go
Absolutely
through
has
the
to go
state.
through the state.
Yeah.
It has to go through the state, but it
Yeah.
also should go through the DRB.
Huh, interesting.
And why is that, Tom? That's because of the flood hazard area?
Yeah, so the flood hazard area is less than 102, 102 feet contour. And virtually all seawalls or fill or a lot of wetlands are all 98, 99, 95 feet.
What would be the logic of making it 102? What's the thought behind that? Do you know?
The 100-year flood.
Right,
So the 100-year, anything under the 100-year flood level is flood hazard.
Correct.
Interesting. That's helpful.
That's something to think about.
I don't know why I
Dave.
know all this. I don't know why I know all this stuff, but yeah, no, it's a 100-year flood and it's actually being revised
yeah, I understand it's gonna be tweaked, maybe a
Yeah.
10th or two.
because Vermont is now very sensitive to
Yeah.
floodplain stuff. And floodplains are really important.
Yep.
And I mean, I had a property near me filled in. And it should have, at a minimum, it should have gone through DRB, but wetlands made them dig it out.
It's been a couple of years since I was on DRD, but we didn't really deal with the floodplain too much.
Then that worries me. And the reason I say that is less than 102, virtually, that's all shoreline.
Right.
And so in a sense, we do have regulations that protect the shoreland, but we hardly ever, I haven't heard of a special flood hazard at DRB, at the town,
No.
anywhere.
What are your thoughts, David?
Are you still there, David?
I am.
Joe asked what your thoughts were.
On this issue with the floodplain and as far as it.
Oh,
DRB?
I'm not smart enough to comment on it. I have to get smart about it.
Yes, I'll just say, big picture wise, the whole reason that that section is in our regulations is driven by FEMA.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like you have to have it in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Probably look into that more.
Yeah.
I'm pretty, it could fall under Brandy,
Right.
because that's.
If there's a hazard, yeah.
But, I mean, I'm being really, and it sounds like I'm being stupid here, but I remember the last flood, what, 5 years ago, 6 years ago? 7 years ago.
2011 was the big flood.
Okay,
But-
2011 was a big flood here,
Yeah.
right? And, you know, Tim is wading through things, helping people and so on and so forth. And if you haven't done your electrical right,
Mm.
guess bad things happen.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
oh, yeah.
So I mean, it is a pretty important, it is a really pretty important regulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, maybe I'll chat with Danielle a little bit more about it, because maybe she didn't connect the dots to special flood hazard and so on and so forth. But I know in the regs, we did try to expand a lot of the shoreland where we just, the offerings to, hey, make sure you talk to shoreland, wetland.
Exactly,
special
yeah,
flood
that's-
hazard and so on and so forth. So we did pull it out there.
Yeah.
And Andy, when you say it's in response to FEMA, what would be the compelling interest for the town to have something in its bylaws with regards to FEMA?
It has to, if we did have some kind of emergency and we needed help from FEMA, it could make a difference as to how much help they would give us.
Interesting.
If we're all up to speed on their regulations, that makes a difference.
No, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe, I'm not sure, maybe we'll call me, maybe we'll invite Brandy in and just see what her take is on the special flood hazard. I'll bring the regulations in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or Andy.
Yeah.
Can, and then we can
Yeah.
look at them from a shoreline perspective.
And I'll be honest, the planning commission has never really spent a lot of time on those. Other than making sure we're current with the FEMA regulations.
Yeah.
That's been our emphasis.
I don't know that Randy's really looked into it or even
Yeah,
thought about it, because we're going over our emergency management plan right now and.
Yeah,
we haven't
that never
talked
even
about
came
it at
up,
all.
yeah. Not, it was not one of our top 3 hazards.
And we have a consultant helping us with that.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just,
yeah,
from what I know, you put up a seawall, you backfill. And the special flood hazard explicitly prohibits backfill in a floodplain without DRB review.
right.
You might have stumbled on something that.
Yeah,
I never thought about. or
yeah,
something.
that's yeah. That's probably the
And
case.
nothing's ever come up on special flood hazard, David, has it at DRB?
Well, you had the, that property on Fifi Point last year, was it, or 2 years ago? That was flood hazard, it was wetlands, shoreland, had a lot of variables there.
And there was a property that I'm familiar with that's on the west side that did a really successful replanting.
Hmm.
But that never came in front of the DRB either. Yeah, this is kind of new information, Tom.
Mhm.
I mean, I could be way off, but I read it a whole bunch of times. And I know Isle of Mott is developing their first
They just got their first town plan approved.
town plan, and I know there was an explicit section on special flood hazard
Yeah,
in there.
yeah.
All right,
Okay.
anything else?
No.
Motion to adjourn the meeting,
I will make that motion.
Andy,
Second.
second, Joe, all in favor?
Aye.
Everybody have a good night.
See you,
Thank
David.
See you guys.
Efficient.